I'll do a benediction, and then
We get
salam,
to sit?
which we are going to do right
got
now.
that one.
Then we
We
go
got
to
that one.
So, thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
That's pretty good. I think we could even do better. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, wonderful. We have a beautiful service in store for you tonight. This is Shabbat Shira, the Shabbat of song. This is the time when Moses and the children of Israel crossed the sea and they sang to God these wonderful praises. And so we take that theme and we expand it into the whole Shabbat service. We have all kinds of different songs for you. And if you look in your bulletin, I would encourage you to look in your bulletin. And those who are online can look. There's a way, especially on our website, to download the bulletin. But usually we just have the names of the parts of the service. But in this particular edition of the bulletin, we have the composers of each piece, of each prayer. And there are 25, they're not all different, but there are 25 pieces. So we're going to start pretty soon so we can get through these. But there are contemporary composers like Josh Nelson for the first piece, Havana Shira. And then we have Binder for the Candle Blessings, and that's an older tune. Followed by the Kiddush, Lewandowski. And also Tzaddikat Tamar a little bit later, which is also by Lewandowski. Beautiful old settings of these prayers. And we have, as you see, Craig Taubman, we have Ben Susan, and of course, Debbie Friedman. And I mentioned Debbie Friedman especially as this is the 12th yahrzeit. Her 12th yahrzeit is always on Shabbat of Bishalach, Shabbat Shira. So we remember Debbie this evening as well. So there's all kinds of different pieces that you'll hear. We encourage you to follow along. If something strikes you, see who the composer was. We can talk about it afterwards. It's Refugee Shabbat. So we have a wonderful service of Shabbat where we're going to speak. We've invited some guest speakers. We have Benjamin Harville who will be joining us, and Rini will be introducing him. And so we can find out, tie into this Bishalach as well for Refugee Shabbat. I've invited Audrey Berman to also help me in leading to some of the pages. So it'll be a very, very freilich service. And Rabbi Michal Wall will deliver the Dvar Torah at a certain point as well during the service. We also want to say to Rabbi Berkson, who's a little under the weather, we wish him a refuah shlema. So we are going to start with Havana Shira, which you can find on page 643, Or if you're online, you can see on the screen in front of you, page 643, Hava Shira, sing a song to the eternal.
Hava Shira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. 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 Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Hava Shira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Hava Shira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah.
As we continue with candle lighting and Kiddush, led by Ellen and Ben Mandelman, we invite you to come on page 120, 121, then 120, and then 122. You start, Ellen.
Blessed are you.
No, as these Shabbat candles, 120.
Oh, first I light them, right?
Nope, first you sing 120, 121. As these Shabbat candles. You read.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold him, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And now we invite Ben on the next page to pick up the Kiddush cup and to read the next part.
And there was evening, and there was a morning, and the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work of that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work and that God had done, and blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because he ceased from all work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'b'ratzon hinechi lanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yatanu kidasha mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yahava u'b'ratzon hinnechaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. As we continue on page 124.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
And we continue on page 138 with Lecha Dodi. And you'll notice on the last verse, we're all going to turn and face the back and greet the Sabbath Queen.
דיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת, נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת, לקראת שבת לכו ונכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נשוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באור יקום מאורי, אורי אורי שמדבר כבוד אדוני עלייך דגלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אוהבי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. אוהבי חלה, אוהבי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We continue now on the first paragraph on page 140. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this.
Israel.
page 145 and then 144.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבי, ועמד יפרח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחיי חוק ויומי חוק, וחיי דכל בן ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מברך, לעולם לעולמי עמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, לשם מרי קודשה, לילה מפה ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם ביומה, ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני, seated. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam, asher dibaron.
No. I wanted, that isn't what I wanted.
ובתבונם משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. צבאות שמו, חי וקיים תמיד, ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד,
Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv.
Is the kitchen cleaned up with everything?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Ahavat olam et Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al כן Adonai Eloheinu v'shofenu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toracha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נגי יומם בלילה נגי יומם בלילה ואחוותך תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהי עמו ישראל אלוהי עמו ישראל שמע ישראל Adonai Eloheinu Adonai ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמן.
We continue now on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
As we continue with Mi Chamocha, which is one of the verses actually found in Shira, which we'll be chanting a little bit later in the service, we also will be chanting, Mi Chamocha and then Miriam's song. So please, if you're trying to find it, it would be like, where is it? It's not the next page. It's on page 646. So as we continue on page 158, then we'll go ahead to 646 if you want to follow.
kamocha, Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar b'kodesh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, mi kamocha, Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar b'kodesh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, mi kamocha, Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar b'kodesh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, v'nema hifada Adonai, v'nema hifada Adonai, yakodesh lo ge'alot, mi'asef elenu baruch Adonai, Osef eleh, mi kamocha, Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha, Nedar b'kodesh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, lo ra tehilot, Osef eleh, and the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance all night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances for the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march towards the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We just went through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu lechayim. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu lechayim. Ushmor tzedekenu uvoenu
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Omer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד ידאג השם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בלי שני עפר, מחמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים, אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Can be seated. We continue on page 173.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam me'ahava tekabel u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael.
God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimecha ulecha na'eh lechodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim le'olam.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Tasim le'olam.
Ki ata Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim le'olam. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael participating. Okay, we're going to continue with the reading of Torah that we do once a month on our birthday blessing Shabbat. And so we invite anybody with a February birthday to join in the Torah processional as we march around in the congregation. And to lead us off, I want to call on Mariah Robinson to help to take the Torah out. And I think you know who you are if you have a February birthday. So as we come down, please join in at that point. So, as we rise to take the Torah out. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Amen. Al Shlosha Devarim, 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 Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Amen. Al HaTorah ve'al Avodah ve'al Gemilut Chasadim, Al HaTorah ve'al Avodah ve'al Gemilut Chasadim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Amen. Al Shlosha Devarim, 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 Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Amen. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Please be seated. And with, if you're okay standing, or actually maybe I'll have you just sit in the front row for a minute. I'd like to call Rabbi Michal Wohl to offer the Devar Torah. We're so fortunate to have Rabbi Michal Wohl with us here from Shir Chadash. And there's a connection as well to Refugee Shabbat. Rabbi Michal Wohl is one of the founders as well when we started these welcome circles to welcome these families that are resettling. She is very involved with her congregation as well. So, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do it this way so it doesn't.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so lovely to be here with this community and with your welcome circle, with which I have had the privilege to be collaborating. You may not know that 2 circles evolved from the Jewish community it's a year ago, almost exactly, to welcome the Maliki family. But it's been many months now, well over a year. Our 2, Shir Chadash and Emmanuel, both stepped up to welcome and support 2 Afghan families in the last year. On this Shabbat Shira, I feel like all of us are standing at the edge of the Red Sea. Just as Torah tells us all of us were at Sinai and all of us were listening to Moshe at the edge of the Jordan. What better week could there be for this highest refugee Shabbat as we see our own story? The story of every person, every family that needs to flee from an unsafe situation. Where our ancestors saw an endless sea before them and Pharaoh's troops behind them, tens of thousands of Afghans faced a gated airport and the Taliban on their tails. Ukrainians are seeing, sometimes nothing, where their homes or schools or jobs had been, or they're sitting in a bunker wondering what might be happening in the streets above them. We also relate to the Rohingya fleeing persecution from Myanmar, in Myanmar. It is not difficult to empathize with these refugees whose stories are intense and public. Refugees come to the U.S. from all over the world, however, with stories we may not already know, and in numbers that are too low, as we continue to recover from years of administration that decimated the U.S. refugee program. Our ancestors, both ancient and modern, were refugees, and we must help them. But were our ancestors refugees? When the St. Louis was turned away from the shores of Havana in 1939, the Jews aboard were not refugees. Today's refugees have applied to come here. They've been vetted. They're provided with assistance once they arrive, just like our Afghan friends. No, those ancestors were asylum seekers. They had no support. They had no welcome. And as we know from the events of 1939, they had no guarantees. This is a completely different situation, one that is more politically fraught here in the States and more dangerous and risky for the seeker. Our biblical ancestors had the support of God with manna to eat and pillars of cloud and fire to show them the way. Yet the people of Amalek still attacked the most vulnerable. And the difficulty of shifting from slaves to free people proved too difficult, so that only the next generation could reach the promised land. Even as we engage with the drama of Afghanistan and Ukraine, it is the southern border that remains the issue for immigration and refugees here in the U.S. People ask, are these folks truly in need? Aren't they just looking for a way to enrich themselves with what we have? These questions are asked daily, and they're asked publicly. Yet we see people willing to drown in a river, like the Midrashic Nachshon walking into the sea. We see mothers tossing their children over walls, like Yocheved leaving Moshe in a basket in the reeds of the Nile. The Israelites, enslaved for centuries, argued with Moshe when he arrived to redeem them, and once freed, took little time to long for home, for cucumbers, for meat, for a dependable existence, even if that was ruled by taskmasters. It is hard to leave home. It is hard to leave home, regardless of how objectively terrible home might be. This is a moment when we need to put aside any cynicism and any judgment. No one leaves their home and puts their lives at risk for fortune, certainly not at the expense of another or to take advantage. Our welcome circles have been embraced and have embraced the leadership of Hayas. They've guided us in serving the Maliki and the Bandawal families, and we appreciate their guidance and their teaching. What Jewish tradition tells us we must do to protect and support the refugee and the asylum seeker. In the coming week, you will receive information about how each of you can help create better opportunities for all of these folks. These folks who were once our ancestors, both ancient and modern. When anyone is standing at the edge of the sea, with the chariots approaching behind them, each of us can step into the water so that they may part. Good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom, Yasher Koach. Thank you, Rabbi Michael Wall. So there's so much we can do, and I like the image that you set of us standing. We were really standing at the shores of the sea. At that moment, after we crossed through, we were really praising God. And there's a tradition. In a moment, not yet, because there's 21 verses that we're going to chant. We're going to invite those who have birthdays to come up here, but also those of you who would like at your seats to rise when we do the Torah blessings and through the Torah reading, the Torah chanting, because it is a very majestic moment. You'll hear it's a very different type of Torah trope than you hear normally on Shabbat. It has a beautiful major tone to it, And anytime that the word of Adonai, or God, is employed, it has it turns into this majestic melody. We're incorporating two different melodies. There's one that's a Sephardic melody at the beginning of the chant for about the first 7 verses. And then you'll hear the regular Torah truck, but it will switch into an Ashkenazi major melody as well throughout. So I encourage you as you listen, if you'd like to follow along, there are Chumashim. They're the slightly bigger books that might be in front of you, or if you're in the front row, they might be underneath your seat. You can follow along. It looks like this, the Torah Chumash, and it's on page 438. And if you look at that, I don't know if this can, actually does a pretty good job. If you take a look, you see, there we go. You see it's laid out very differently in the text. So I may encourage you to take a look and see. It's different from, let's say, this page. Well, that doesn't have any Torah on it. But for example, this one, where it's just prose, the kind of back and forth. You can see the poetry. It's beautiful right here. And this is the same poetry that we'll see in the Torah as we sing this Song of the Sea. And so we'll all have a chance at the very end to see it as well when we lift the Torah and show you. But for those who are now celebrating with their February birthdays, I invite you to come forward. We have Margaret Lech-Brzezowski is going to chant the verses for us. And Chaim is going to lead us, all of us, and you as well, if you'd like to join and stand in your place, to lead us in the Torah blessings. Because we were here at the shore of the sea. So here we go. So somebody can, Chaim, why don't you hold this open? Okay. You can see how beautiful it is. Oh, you got your own. If you want, you can hold this one. Okay. Okay, so we'll begin together with the, Chaim, why don't you lead us in the Torah blessing?
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Az yashir Moshe uvnei Yisrael et hashira hazot l'Adonai vayomru lemor ashir al Adonai ki ga'o ga'a sus v'rochvo rama vayam ozi v'zimratia vayehi li lishua Ze'eli ve'anvehu v'lohei aviv arom mimenhu Adonai ish milchama Adonai shemo Markevot paro v'chelo yarav hayam U'mivchar shalishav tube'u v'yam suf תהומות יחסיומו, ירדו ומצולות כמו אבן, ימינך אדוני נדרי בכוח, ימינך אדוני תרעת אויב, וברוב גאונך תהרוס קמך, תשלח חרונך יאכלמו כקש, וברוח אפיך נערמו מים, ניצבו כמוני נוזלים, קפאו תהומות בלב ים, אמר אויב, ארדוף אשיג, אחלק שלל, תמלאמו נפשי עריק, חרבי תורי שמו ידי, נשפת ברוחך כי שמו ים, צללו
כעופרת במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. נטית ימינך תבלעמו ארץ, נחית וחסתך עמזו גאלת, נהלת בעוזך אל נווה קודשך, שמעו עמים ירגזון, חיל אחז יושבי פלשת, אז נבהלו אלופי אדום, אלי מואב יוחזי מורד. נמוגו כל יושבי כנען, תפול עליהם אימתה ופחד, בגדול זרועך ידמו כאבן. עד יעבור עמך אדוני, עד יעבור עמזו קנית, תביאמו ותטעמו בהר נחלתך, מכון לשבתך פעלת אדוני, מקדש אדוני כוננו ידיך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. קיווה סוס פרעה ברכבו ובפרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים. ותקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידה, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ובמחולות, ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה בים.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu tburat emet, v'chaye olam natan Torahenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Please be seated, those of you that are out there. And just I'm going to read the first couple of verses and the last verses. I just want to show you that this is a song of Moses, but also of Miriam as well. And so at the very beginning of the Parsha, or this reading, chapter 15, verse 1, then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Eternal. They said, I will sing to the Eternal, for God has triumphed gloriously. Horse and driver God has hurled into the sea. The Eternal is my strength and might. God has become my deliverance. So there's this whole song, beautiful song. In the last couple of verses, Miriam also joins in. Then Miriam the prophet, Aaron's sister, picked up a hand drum, and all the women went out after her and danced with hand drums. This is where the song "And the Women" followed after Miriam. Miriam's song comes from. And Miriam chanted for them the same verses. Sing to the Eternal, for God has triumphed gloriously. Horse and driver God has hurled into the sea. And so this is the Shira, the song of the sea. So we now have a special blessing for those who are here, those who are celebrating birthdays. And we say to all of you, may God who blessed the generations before us, bless all who are remembering their birthdays in this hour. God of days and years, author of life, our times are in your hand. We thank you day by day for your abundant blessings, and as year follows year, we are grateful for all of your gifts. Be with our friends whose birthdays are in this month. May they be blessed with health and happiness. May their lives be filled with good and abundance of blessings. Be with them always as the joy of their lives. Accept, O Eternal, our words of praise as we sing together the Shehecheyanu prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Blessed is the eternal our God, ruler of the universe, for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this day. Mazel tov. So you can go down. You can go down. You need to stay. Maybe right over.
Just stand by, just in case.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
And so now, so you can see the beautiful words that were chanted and see the poem itself, the beautiful poem. 1 second. We are going to lift the Torah. So with the Torah, with the Torah we rise. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim v'tageh haaretz Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim v'tageh haaretz Yiramayam 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 U'elo Yiramayam 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 U'elo Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim v'tageh haaretz Yismechu hashamayim hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim Yismechu hashamayim v'tageh haaretz Yiramayam 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 U'elo Yiramayam 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 U'elo. Okay. So we're going to have anniversary blessings for those who are celebrating anniversaries this week, and it's actually one couple that I know of. This Shabbat we celebrate the following anniversary: Bonnie and Michael Kofsky. Are there any others that happen to be celebrating maybe an anniversary during this week? So we say to them, may God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless those who are celebrating the anniversary of their wedding. May their marriage covenant continue to be strengthened by love and peace. Their lives are blessed with the gift of loving companionship and of devotion to each other. May their lives continue to be enriched by affection and mutual respect. May God bring blessing and success to all their worthy endeavors. As we all say, Amen. And now, I'd ask you to turn in your Siddur, the prayer book, to page 371. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ואימותינו שרה רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. O God, source of healing, grant a speedy recovery to all who are in need of your healing. To our friends, Debbie Alpert, Craig Ansier, Jason Arnold, Yaakov David, Ben Fredalessa, Uvinyamin, Blake Bold, Vivian Borkin, Dennis Berkey, Mike DeWald, Michelle Eike, Riva Falk, Michael Favreau, Fred Feinstein, Caitlin Saucier-Feltner, Barry Foreman, Helene Fried, Belle-Ann Freund, Amy Ginsberg, Hank Getzinger, Mimi Habish, Beth Gobich-Harris, Helena Himmelfard, Tzvi Bat Kalman, Tzippi Bat Kalman, Louise Sandler Kaufman, Evelyn Lager, Philip Landwehr, Barb Lauterbach, Jet Lebrecht, Bruce Lefko, Lloyd Levine, Ellen Levin, Ron Levin, Kathy Liddell, Richard Linke, Bill Leisenrig, Catherine Mallon, Wendy Mayer, Zavi Ram Kravit, Ardith Majeski, Gary Cavalier, Richard Moskowitz, Jeff Pack, Gail Sassner Peterson, Jeff Rappaport, Neil Spiro, Kathy Polzian, Lipman Pinchas Ben Liba Umendel, Susan Schenk, Batya Bad Liba Moshe, Arnold Snyderman, Reuven Herzl Ben Devora, Viharav Shneur Zalman HaKohen, Marty Stein, Earl Strait, Chase Strict, Laura Sussman, Freda Bad Golda, Kenneth Walls, Rachel Reina Bad Pesa Malka, Jim Wilkinson, Tom Wilkinson, Wendy Yanau, Rebecca Zuckerman, Shoshana Bad Harav Ari Vishoshana, Yonatan Ben Ruth Ve'eliezer, Chaim Moshe Halevi Ben Leah, Avram Yosef Ben Rachel Umenachem, Leah Bat Chaiki Umordechai, Leah Bat Bruria Ufinchas, Avrima Miriam Bat Leah, Chaya Shoshana Bat Avrima Miriam, Yael Bat Yehudit, Shoshana Miriam Bat Sarah Avraham, Henya Bas Bracha Devora Leah, Miriam Bat Dorit, Pesach Ben Pesha Eta, Batya Bat Miriam Yosef, Mordechai Ben Malka Umeir. Are there others who maybe are in the synagogue who would like to add a name? Ruchel Bat Sarah Avraham, Andrea Rosenthal, Harry Marks, Carrie Marks, Carrie Marks, sorry to hear with the mask. Anyone over here? Yes. Rick Sweet. We say, may God grant wisdom and insight to those who bring healing, and may God grant courage and comfort to those whose struggles continue. Also, if there may be people on Zoom who would like to share a name, and if so, we'll go around. You can raise your hand, and I'll call on you, and you can unmute yourself. Yes, Carol? I think we need to turn the Zoom feed on. Is that? Yeah. Can you unmute? You need to unmute.
Yeah, I did. Nancy Potter.
Nancy Potter?
Yes, Nancy.
Okay. All right. And of course, those who are on other platforms may mention a name as well. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of spirit and of body. And we pray, O God, source of all breath, healer of all beings, protect us and restore our hope. Strengthen us that we may bring strength. Keep us in health that we may bring healing. Help us know again a time when we can all breathe without fear, without masks. Bless the sacred work of all of our hands as together we all say, Amen. You will find the words of Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach before you and on page 371, and this arrangement is by our previous accompanist, Scott Finch. continue with the returning of the Sefer Torah to the Ark. And so I call on Mariah Robinson to join again. And as we are going to process the other way, I ask you all to rise as we continue with the Torah processional. Recessional. Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Omen. Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Omen. Al-HaTorah ve'al-Avodah ve'al-Gemilut Chasadim, Al-HaTorah ve'al-Avodah ve'al-Gemilut Chasadim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Omen. Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Al-Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Omen. It is a tree of life to remember how fast to it and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to remember how fast to it and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. So we continue with Aleinu on page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tzei kedula liyotzei breshit, shelo asanu k'gilei haratzot, velo samanu b'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo samech Eloheinu lahem, v'goraleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא לארץ ומשל יקרא בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו בגוהי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אלוהינו אמת מלכנו וזולתו חקרנו בתורתו וידעת היום בחשבות אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים השמיים ממעל והארץ מתחת עינו.
On page 591, may we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair.
ונאמר והגענו למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death, as we take a few moments to read any one of the meditations that you can find on pages 592 through 597. As the names of your dear ones are mentioned, we invite you to rise in loving memory as we remember the relatives and friends of our congregation who have gone before us into life eternal. We remember tonight the names of Kenneth H. Lauterbach, Baruch Ben Avraham, Bernard Kaufman, Bernard Brzezowski, Nicole Nikitulis, and Frederick Ross Dichter, who were laid to rest recently. We remember also the names of those whose anniversary of death is remembered tonight. Remember Rosalind Scharf Beck, Benjamin Baer, Stephen Michael Berg, Molly Blumenfeld, Norman Burstein, Gustav Carter, David V. Chapman, Charny Chier, Dora Dorff, William V. Dubin, Beverly Pfefferman, Geraldine Fine, Joan Feldman, Sylvia Freeman, Debbie Friedman, Irma Rosenberg Glassner, Bertha Grinker, Sheila Heifetz Gross, Adolf Grunwald, Max Gunder, Irving Gut, Frank Heilbrenner, Hannah Hausman, Stella Callis, Morris Karen, Joel Kimmel, Harvey J. Clafter, Leonard Lefstein, Ada Levine, Ruth Carter Lidower, Hendriana Litt, Millie Nemovitz, Paul Phillips, Harry Pittleman, Ruth L. Podell, Sidney Pollack, Ann Miriam Raffalo, Jacob Raffi, Jacob Rinskoff, Ann Rosen, Julius Rubin, Samuel Sandikoff, David D. Selby, Ida Hirsch Shapiro, Max Mayer Shapiro, Max J. Shimon, Francis Silberg, Edward Gordon Simmons, Albert Smith, Sam Stahl, Beatrice Poland Stern, Maurice Serlo, and Marion Weinberg. Are there others in the synagogue who would like to add a name? Yes. Jack Kessler. Aviva Bat Naftali Visima. Yes. Michael Greenfield. And perhaps on Zoom, if there's anybody that would like to share a name, please unmute and I'll call on you. And again, if there are any on any other platforms, please also mention the names of your loved ones. Remember those who perished in the Shoah, who have no yahrzeit dates. We pray, may their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May their repose be peace. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. We now ask for those participating in this service to join with those who mourn in the words of Kaddish before you and on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'amad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam v'li'amei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei rikudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, tamiram biyama v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens above send peace down here to us, to all of Israel, to all the world, and let us say, amen. Amen. Please be seated. And you've made it now to this part of the service. And so now I'd like to call on Rini Cavalier, who is the chair of our Social Action Committee, and also who is the leader of our Welcome Circle as well for our congregation, to introduce our guest speaker, Benjamin Harville, who will educate us further. I'll move this. You're welcome.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
A year ago, on February 14th, we welcomed the Maliki family through the CEE BJ Welcome Circle under the auspices of Hayas. Mom, Shokafa, Dad, Jangir, and two young boys, Mohammed and Mustafa, who were 4 and 5 years old at the time. They were set up in an apartment that Rabbi Wall had procured and we went about the task of providing them with household furniture and goods, food, telephones, Wi-Fi, bank accounts, enrolled the boys in school, doctor and dental appointments, and parents to ESL, and their parents went to the ESL classes, and more. April 1, they moved into new housing in Shorewood, and Jean-Guy got a full-time job at the Oriental Rug Gallery in Whitefish Bay. In June, the boys attended the JCC Rainbow Day Camp for the summer. Shokafa delivered a baby girl, Nazila, in July, and by September, the boys were in appropriate for their age classrooms at the Lake Bluff Elementary School in Shorewood. Jean-Guy now has a driver's license and a vehicle. Shokafa is studying to take her driver's license and beginning to think about school to become a cosmetologist. And now we have started the process of extending their legal and then permanent stay in the United States. The work isn't done. What can you do? We continue to need help with the driving to the ESL classes and to doctor's appointments. We will need funding to help them with their applications for their legal status. And we are also helping them and others go to school, which I'll tell you about in a moment. The CEEBJ Refugee Fund has helped to offset some of these expenses, and we know there will be more. In addition, we've set up a fund at the Jewish Community Foundation to assist other refugees with needs. We are pleased to be able to provide tuition to the UW Milwaukee for an Afghan refugee who is seeking asylum, and have just received a request from a Ukrainian refugee attending UW Green Bay. There's lots that still needs to be done, and we continue to need help. So we would appreciate whatever it is, whatever kinds of help you can give us. I will tell you that the family is here. I think they just stepped out because the baby needed something. But you'll have an opportunity to meet them at the Oneg tonight. And now it is my privilege to introduce you to Ben Harville. Ben is an immigration attorney with the Catholic Charities of Milwaukee and an adjunct professor of law at the University of Wisconsin Law School. Attorney Harville earned his Juris Doctorate from the University of Arizona's James E. Rogers College of Law in 2012. Since that time, he has worked in private practice as a nonprofit attorney and as the director of the University of Wisconsin Law School's Immigrant Justice Clinic. Attorney Harville's current focus is on obtaining permanent status for the hundreds of Afghan refugees who were resettled in the Milwaukee area following the fall of Kabul in 2021. Ben?
Let's get this up here a little bit. Okay, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here tonight. And as Rini said, over the course of the last year, most of my time has been devoted to providing legal assistance to the Afghans who are resettled in this area. I'm going to talk a little bit about that project, some of the rewards and some of the challenges that we have faced. I would estimate that about 1,000 Afghan refugees were resettled in the state of Wisconsin after the fall of Kabul, including several hundred here in the Milwaukee area. Most of them were resettled with parole status, and parole is essentially a kind of temporary permission to be in the United States. Most of them were given 2 years in this status along with work authorization, but there wasn't really a path to any kind of permanent legal status. And so the project that I and some of my colleagues have embarked on was really to try and find for hopefully every single Afghan that was resettled in the state of Wisconsin a legal mechanism for them to remain permanently in the United States. Without getting too much into the weeds of immigration law, there's essentially two main paths that the vast majority of the Afghans will qualify for. The first is something called special immigrant status, and this is for former employees of the United States in Afghanistan. So this would apply to people who were working for the United States as translators, soldiers, various other jobs working at the U.S. Embassy. They have a clear path towards a green card. For the rest of them, they will have to generally request asylum. And to qualify for asylum, they have to show a well-founded fear of persecution if they return to Afghanistan. And given the Taliban's repressive nature, the fact that many of the folks who were evacuated were former soldiers, human rights defenders, enemies of the Taliban, in my opinion, the vast majority of them should meet that legal standard. However, both of these processes are very labor and time intensive. There's lots of paperwork, there's lots of evidence that needs to be gathered, there's lots of potential for mistakes and delays. Given that many of them do not speak English, even the folks who do speak English well are going to have a lot of problems navigating this system. The project that we developed intended to find a qualified attorney to represent every single Afghan that was resettled in this area. Obviously, this was much more than we could handle ourselves. And so we went out and started trying to recruit amongst the legal community, the state bar, some of the big law firms in this area. Our pitch was essentially, if you can volunteer to represent one Afghan or one Afghan family under our guidance, we felt that we could at least make a dent in the need for legal services. And I have to say that the response has really, really been phenomenal. A lot of the big law firms have volunteered a lot of their time, a lot of their attorneys' times. So far, with the assistance of these attorneys and with the assistance of a lot of volunteers from faith communities like this one and others around Milwaukee, we've really been able to, I think, do a good job of meeting the vast need for legal services that existed. So that's the good news. That's the hopeful news. In terms of challenges that are faced, it's quite a menu of challenges to choose from. I'll just do a greatest hits for now. First, the immigration process tends to move very slowly. And so even with assistance from an attorney, especially right now, things tend to get kind of caught in holding patterns. We file applications and nothing will happen on those applications for months and years. And this can be very, very frustrating for everybody involved. Another big challenge that we faced is that Afghanistan does not have a history of issuing identification documents to their citizenry. And so a lot of immigration law involves primary evidence like birth certificates, passports, marriage certificates, proving family relationships. And these are the types of, this type of evidence did not really exist in Afghanistan until very recently, particularly in the rural areas. And so, for example, getting a national identity card would be very difficult. Somebody does not have a birth certificate and does not know their date of birth. I understand that they will go into the government office and the person behind the desk will kind of look at them and guess their age and put that on their identity document. And this is could be different. It could be a different spelling of their name from the documents they came to the United States with. Could cause a lot of problems. But I think the biggest challenge that we're going to face for this population are the families that have been left behind. A lot of families were resettled after the fall of Kabul. There was this huge, tens of thousands of people were evacuated, including a lot of families. But there were also a lot of single men that were evacuated, especially soldiers who were on duty and then had essentially no time to pick up and leave, didn't even get to say goodbye to their wife and children who remain in Afghanistan. And the big challenge I think that we're going to face is getting the wife and children out of Afghanistan for some of the reasons that I've described. They don't have marriage certificates, they don't have identity documents, they don't have passports, they don't have birth certificates. These are the sorts of things that in the normal course of our work we use to immigrate somebody from another country. It's non-existent. The administration, I think that their focus has turned a little bit more towards Ukraine, and the focus is not quite as much on evacuating people out of Afghanistan. And so I anticipate a lot of difficulties in bringing out family members. It looks like I'm about at my time here, but those are sorts of, that's basically what we're doing right now. And I just want to thank Rini and the members of the congregation who've been helping with some of the families that are here tonight. Those volunteers have been absolutely phenomenal. Gathering evidence together, driving to our office so we could meet with them has really made our life much, much, much easier. So thank you.
Would you stay for a moment? There may be a few questions. We have some
Certainly.
time for a couple of questions.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
And if so, I thought if anybody has, I'll bring the mic over so we can hear your question. Thank you very much. It's been very informative.
Are there
Yes,
still
Ms. Hunt.
quotas for people from different places? Are there still quotas?
Well, there's the administration sets the number of refugees who are admitted every year. And so in that sense, there is a limited number. Now, again, we're getting a little technical. The folks who were evacuated from Afghanistan were not admitted as refugees. They were paroled into the United States. So those numbers do not count against that overall sort of refugee number. So there isn't a cap on the amount of folks that they could be bringing in.
Any other questions? We'll have an opportunity to speak with Jonathan afterwards, I hope, at the
Sure.
moment, so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can, you can ask some more questions there. Thank you for your, really, it's very fascinating. It's nice to hear all the ins and outs. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like now to invite Audrey Berman back up for a moment to just give some very brief announcements, very brief, of things that are coming up.
Announcements. I hope that all of you got a copy of this pamphlet when you walked in. If you didn't, you can get one on your way out. I want to just call your attention to two events. One is this Sunday, starting at 11:30 with lunch. It's celebration of Tu B'Shvat. It's a live animal program with birds from the Audubon Center, raptors, and all kinds of really cool birds that you get to be very up close and personal with. So please join us for that. But then next Sunday, February 12th, is our 5th annual Debbie Carter Bergson Blood Drive. And we urge you to sign up to be a donor if you can. And Edie Pump is back there, and if you have any questions, I'm sure she'd be able to answer them for you later. So feel free to take this with you and come to all the events that you can that are listed in it. I want to thank you to our greeter, Tamara Miller. And since I was also supposed to be greeting, I want to thank her for doing more than her share of the work. You can all help her and me. When you leave, please bring your Siddur, your prayer book, back out with you, and we'll take them from you at the door. I'd also like to thank our pulpit flower donor, Carrie Bravo Fernandez, and also thank Carrie for sponsoring our Bima basket, and James Karen, in memory of his father, and Richard Kimmel in memory of his brother Joel. And our Oneg Shabbat host for tonight is by the Marvin and Dorothy Kohner Oneg Fund. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our thanks also to Ellen and Ben Mandelman for leading us in candlelighting and Kiddush. Thank you, Audrey, for assisting with the readings as well. Rabbi Michal Wohl, thank you so much for your Devar Torah. And to Benjamin Harville for your very informative words. Thanks to Bob Brasner and Noah Bertman, who are doing the video kind of in the control room off way somewhere else. And so that you can see on the screen things that are happening and people can see online. Thanks to Larry Philibom for making the sound crystal clear. Many thanks to Dan Dance for his beautiful accompaniment, and to our choir, one of our bigger choir assemblies. So we're very thankful for them as well. We have our study meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And thanks to Susan, we thank Susan Costin in advance for helping to lead the study. So now we're going to close with our closing songs, Biyado and Ozi, which you can find on page 625 and then 647. Please rise and remain standing for the closing benediction, and then we'll be going into Serlo Hall for the Oneg. Beyado afkid ruchi be'et isha ve'yaira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. My soul I give to you, my spirit in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Adonai li velo ira. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Take me in your hand.
My soul I give to you, my spirit and your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Adonai velo
Draw me near, I shall not fear.
Adonai velo ira. Adonai oz li'amo yitain. May God grant strength to our people. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God bless our people, bless all people with peace. Shabbat shalom. We'll see you in Sirlo Hall. Shabbat Shira. Shalom.
Oh, gotta get that Christmas.
Shabbat shalom aleinu. Shabbat shalom aleinu. Shabbat shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat shalom aleinu. Shabbat shalom aleinu. Shabbat shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Shabbat shalom aleinu. Shabbat shalom aleinu. Shabbat shalom aleinu. Ve'al
That was fun.
Or Zoom votes?